Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all a new Yu-Gi-Oh series that I want to give a try on the channel. We are going to be doing a Yu-Gi-Oh combos and test hands video. Basically in the video I will just show some of the combos for the deck at hand and also do a few test hands. So those of you that play this deck or are a fan of the deck will be able to just look to this video as sort of a reference for plays you can do, and like I said, hand combos as well. We're going to be starting off with the current deck that I am using at locals, and that is Yummy. I've played the deck for a couple weeks now. Definitely happy with the play style of the deck. It's just going to get all the better with the upcoming support from Doom of Dimensions as well. So if you like the series and you have some recommendations for other ones you'd like to see for different decks, definitely do let me know down in the comments below. But we'll go ahead and just get started for what we have readily available for the deck to use. For the Yummy deck, the big setup are obviously the three main monsters in the deck. So for the majority of our plays, we have our Cupsy Yummy, and then the other two additional Yummies as well, being Cookie Yummy and Lollipop Yummy. If you open up at least one of these monsters in your hand, it can help to initiate a play. I would say the best play for any of the Yummy monsters is to start off, obviously, with Cupsy Yummy. This is just one of the better starters because it is a searcher. You have a attack minus effect and a shuffle back or banish effect with Lollipop or Cookie. But with Cupsy, you actually get the search from this card as well, being able to just add a Yummy card from your deck to your hand when this card is normal or special summon. So this could be your one go-to starter in the deck, and we're also just going to place a field center on the field as well. So we have the marked positions for everything that we do with the deck as well, and so we also have the extra monster zones as well. So your main initial play with Cupsy Yummy could be normal summon, and this will always be going off of if your opponent has a response with a hand trap to your card as well. If your opponent doesn't have a hand trap, then you'll get the search for your Yummy card, and then this initial play will also come down to what else you have in your hand as well. This will be, with the test hand portion of the video as well. But for the first initial play, let's say Cupsy Yummy was the only card we have in our hand. We go for the search with Cupsy Yummy, and if it's the only card or search, I would say the best play to go for is to grab another Yummy monster, because then you'll have your setup in the graveyard that you'll need for the monsters. So you can add Cookie Yummy off of this card. Now Cookie is added over the Lollipop just based on what you want to go for. If you want graveyard disruption, you go for Lollipop. If you want to destroy one of your opponent's monsters or lower the opponent's monster's attack on the field, you go for Cookie. Either way, you'll have that set up for the next turn. So then you'll add your monster off of the Cupsy Yummy, and then from there you can go for your Link 1 play. So you'll send the Cupsy Yummy to the graveyard and go for the Link 1 play into our Yummy Snatchy. Yummy Snatchy has the added setup with this card as well. Now you have two field spell searches to go for with this card, and they can always be changed out when you special summon Yummy Snatchy back onto the field as well. So even if your opponent stops the initial search of Cookie, you have two Yummy monsters to then be able to summon back with your Synchro monster. Yummy Snatchy will be most of the time the hit that your opponent will go for, because they want to stop the field spell setup. It is a once per turn for attempting to use the Yummy Snatchy search effect for that card, but you have two field spell options available to you. If you use Yummy Amusement Mignon, then you have the special summon of a level 1 back onto the field with your Yummy monster, and this will also determine which field spell you want to get with these cards. If your opponent stops the Cupsy Yummy play with the search, then you want to set up the Snatchy for the Mignon. If you go for Acroquay, this will be a destruction play every time you Synchro summon against your opponent as well. So let's say you activate the Mignon. You either have the search that your opponent provided from you off the search of Cupsy. If not, you can use the Mignon to summon back the Cupsy to give you the additional monster to use for your level 2 Synchro, because once again, for the Yummy Synchros, the level 1 monster counts as your tuner, or level 1 tuner for that play. So if you don't go for the special summon of Mignon right here, you have the special summon of your Yummy monster from your hand, and then from there, you can use Snatchy and that additional Yummy monster to then go for your Synchro play. play. Now, the big play here depends on what you want to go for. You have 3 available Yummy monsters to be able to summon out with these cards, and each one varies. You have the Search with Cupsy, you have the Special Summon Power with Lollipo, and the Book of Moon effect with Cookie. So you want to save Cookie for your opponent's turn. Lollipo, as I said, can grab you resources from the graveyard, but I would say the best play to start off with is Cupsy Yummy, because then you have the Special Summon this card, the additional Search for the 2 additional Yummy monsters, which you can just add to your hand. If you grab one of the additional monsters, then you have the discard of that card from your hand, which you can save the Yummy monsters for the following turn if you have another card in your hand to discard. But once again, we're going off of the 1-card combo play, and from there you were given the 1 additional Yummy monster to be able to summon out onto the field. Now, once again, the plays for your Link summons for Snatchy are not once per turn, so you can go into Lollipo for the additional Yummy Snatchy play, and then activate Mignon from here for the added result from your special summon back onto the field. If you used Cookie on the first initial play for your opponent's minus, then you can summon back Lollipo and get that special summon from here, as well as one of these special summon cards from your resources to go for back onto the field as well, if you didn't initially use it before you made the Link 1 play as well from here also. And then from there, you can go into 1 additional play for your next Yummy Synchro monster. This one for the initial summon can be your Yummy Way, because then with Way, you can go for the special summon of your monsters back onto the field, depending on the ones you wanted to summon for that play. And if everything doesn't go interrupted from here, you have to remember with Yummy Way, the effect is negated for the monsters you summon out. So you'll have to either use Snatchy for a Synchro play right here, and you can go for that additional summon, or you could just go for the initial Yummy monsters for that summon, or you could just have the initial setup that you mentioned before and save those monsters on the field, because with this setup you have the activation on your opponent's turn. As soon as your opponent activates a card, you can send out the initial Yummy, having the 2 targets in the graveyard to then go for as well with these cards, which you have to remember with Snatchy, it is a once per chain card effect to use for the special summon of a Synchro monster quick effect. By paying 100 life points, you can then go for an initial Synchro play, and that Synchro play can then be used to grab out the disruptor that I mentioned before, being Cookie Yummy, because when this card is Synchro summoned, you can then Book of Moon 2 cards your opponent controls and interrupt their initial play if they don't have a response to those cards as well. These are the main plays you'll go for with the Yummy cards. With the special summon of your Yummy monsters as well, this is the main effect that will activate the if special summon by a Synchro monster effect on the field. So you'll get the Banish effect from Lollipo, the draw of a card off of Cupsy, and then the destruction of a monster from Cookie instead of the attack minus the Yummy Search, and then the shuffle back power for these cards. That's where you'll get your main play. But the big play to remember with these cards as well is when you return the monster to the extra deck and summon out those monsters, you want to have some sort of resource to then use with your Yummy monsters on the field, being the additional Synchro play, and that's where the quick play effect of Yummy Snatchy comes in, because then you can use your other cards for the summon onto the field, and then have the added plays for your field spell, because if you summon out Snatchy, it just has to be special summon, it doesn't have to be Link summon, to then set up your field spell play as well. The same plays can be taken into consideration for your other Yummy monsters when you summon them out for the normal summon. The big play here, obviously, is just the fact that they won't give you the additional search. You'll have the shuffle back power or the attack minus power with them, and you can still go into the same initial plays with those monsters. It's just if you go into plays like Snatchy with Lollipo or Cookie, you'll want to grab the Mignon first, because then from that monster on the field with Mignon, you'll be able to summon back that monster you used from the graveyard, and then be able to use the 2 for the same Synchro play that we mentioned before, and then be able to use the search for Yummy Way this time around for the Synchro play to grab the other 2 Yummy monsters we didn't initially have off the search, and then go for that discard and have the same special summon play as well. The big play here is just the order in which you want to use your Yummy monsters, remembering which ones you've used for that play and what you want to have set up as well. One of the other bigger cards that we haven't used is the setup with Yummy Surprise. This card is a great special summon setup. There are a couple things that people are using in the deck to interrupt the Yummy plays. Chain Disappearance and Deck Devastation Virus are 2 big cards as well. I was in a game where the majority of my hand were the Yummy monsters, and they deck devastation me. So if your hand is just comprised of the majority of those monsters, you could lose those resources to the graveyard and not be able to draw into those cards. That is where Surprise comes in, because then you can at least summon back those cards, because cards like Deck Devastation Virus, you have to have that monster in the graveyard, and then you have to draw into those additional lower attack point monsters. If you have cards like Surprise, these can help you with the special summon power from the graveyard to give you a yummy resource back onto the field. And then the only restriction with that card is it cannot attack directly this turn, but then you can easily use that yummy monster to then continue into your extended play. Knowing when to add Surprise to your hand is a big part of the setup. The last part of the engine of the deck is something that can comprise a level 1 monster to then make a synchro play. A big majority of what people are using is the Sky Striker engine, because this card can then in turn search out your Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones can make a token on the field, and then you can use that token to get out your Sky Striker Kagari. Kagari can add back the Hornet Drones, and then Hornet Drones can make one additional token on the field. With that additional token, you also have the Kagari that can also be used in tandem with the yummy monsters, because you just have to have a Link 1 or level 2 Synchro to special summon these cards out, and you can use any Link 1 monster to go for your yummy Synchro play. So you have to remember that with that Link 1 engine. I've seen some use cards like Cyber's Gadget, where you just go for the summon of Gadget, go for Lingaribo, and then you have your Link 1 like that. It's the variety in the different Link monsters that are what people are going to determine what they want to use the most from all those cards. Now, we'll do 2 test hands as well before we wrap up the video, but with these test hands, they're going to show just what we can do for the added playstyle in the deck and what we can summon out. So we'll go ahead and just shuffle up our hand for what we have to go against our opponent. And this is the same deck that I had for my deck profile for the video, which I will have at the end of the video as well. So definitely check that out. You have your opponent cut tap your deck, and then from there you draw out your 5 hands. And let's say for this one we were going first, so our opponent will not have any interaction against us, and we have 2 Ash Blossom, we have the Engage, we have Cupsy Yummy, and we have Obedience School. Now, Obedience School was one card I did not mention in the video just because this is a very powerful card, potentially could be hit on the ban list depending on how this card does. But let's say we go first against our opponent, so no cards on our opponent's field, we activate Obedience School. This would be probably the biggest card they would attempt to Ash Blossom. The one weakness that Obedience School doesn't have is that this card cannot be, once per turn, so if you have another in your hand. But if your opponent successfully lets the Obedience School go, then you'll get your special summon for your 3 Lollipo monsters. You just cannot special summon for the rest of the turn, except for beast monsters. And with this setup, I took the priority over the Engage in my hand. This is just because we are given our resource for our 3 yummy monsters on the field. If we went for the Engage, we would already have our monster on the field, and we wouldn't be able to use the Obedience School. We would have to go off of just the 1 Cupsy additionally that we used in our hand as well for this play. The other big thing is the 2 Ash Blossoms in our hand. If our opponent were to try and Foolos us, we can at least have the Ash Blossom to discard from our hand to prevent that hand trap from giving them draw power off of each one of our special summons. But from here, we have the use of the Obedience School. We have our 3 yummy monsters, and from there, we can just go with the initial setup for our Link 1 monster. We have the special summon of the Cupsy in our hand to the field to give us an additional search for another yummy monster to add to our hand, which once again, the effects are negated for these monsters due to the Obedience School. But then from there, we can continue right along with the Synchro plays into our yummy monsters. You can go into Yummy Way, activating Yummy Way, which if you need the room in the main monster zones, you can always place it in the extra monster zone, but then you're locked out of the Link play. So if you know you're going to have the space on the field, you can use Yummy Way with the additional last 2 spots to summon out the 2 monsters from the graveyard, and then go for those additional Synchro plays all the way into our more and more different yummy monsters. You can use Yummy Way to give you the additional search for our other 2 monsters, discarding 1 off of that, and then using the final 2 monsters on the field leaves you with another Snatchy and the quick effect on your opponent's turn to once again go into the Cookie Yummy Way to Boko Moon our opponent's monsters. We have these 3 monsters set up by our opponent's turn, monsters to be able to summon back any of the yummy monsters in our graveyard, and then the Ash Blossom, which once again is once per turn. So if your opponent Fuuloses, you have the 1 in your hand for that 1 turn, and then the 1 to use on the next turn. If your opponent clears out your board, then you have the Engage to revolve on. Now for the second test hand, we will go with a going second hand. So let's say our opponent goes first. We are going second against them. So with that, we will go for the added cut tap of our deck against our opponent. So if our opponent were to have this, then we cut tap this hand. And obviously there are side deck options where you can side out the cards as well, depending on if you're going first or not. The Fuelos is in the deck, but if you wanted to go second, you have the Fuelos option. So with that, we will draw into our hand to potentially use going second against them. And as you can see, we have interaction against our opponent with the use of the Ash Blossom and the Impermanent. So if we try to disrupt our opponent with those initial plays, those could be the 2 cards used by the end of turn 1. And then we have these cards left in our hand. Going second, we draw into our card for turn, which we have Forbidden Droplet. So one of the best plays we could do here is set up the activation of Engage to get us our Link 1 monster. So you activate Engage for the search. If your opponent doesn't have a response to the Engage, you can chain the Droplet, sending the Engage to have a target from your hand to stop one of your opponent's monsters. If your opponent has 1 additional monster on the field you want to use Droplet for, you can send one of your yummy monsters from your hand to the graveyard for that initial search and have 2 hits for your opponent. If not, you can keep the yummy monster in your hand, and then you have the negated effect and the lowered attack thanks to the Droplet and the Engage. The Engage will resolve, giving you the added search from our deck to our hand for the Hornet Drones, and then the added setup for our graveyard for the use of Hornet Drones to give us our token on the field. Then we use the token to summon out from our extra deck the Kagari. Kagari can add back the Hornet Drones, activating the Hornet Drones to give us the 1 additional token on the field as well. And then from there, we have the special summon for both of our yummy monsters that were in our hand. Then we can use the Kagari and the initial monster for those plays, which the Kagari takes up the extra monster zone, so you have to go into the Synchro first before you can clear it out to use your other yummy monster for snatching. You go for Cupsy always, because it's your first initial search. Use it to grab the main deck Cupsy and 1 additional monster, send the non-activated Cupsy effect, and then you can summon out that additional Cupsy. In this scenario where you have used all your Cupsy and other yummy monsters, add Surprise, so you just have an extender in case your opponent were to Nibiru against this play here. But that is it for the video. It was a pretty lengthy combo video, but once again, I wanted to go into detail for everything you could do with this deck. I had a lot of fun explaining everything for the Yummy deck as well, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. If there are other decks you would definitely like to see on the channel for combos and playtesting for hands, definitely do let me know down in the video description below. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.